Thank you for doing this. Hey,
Of course.
so first of all, I want to just say to all of our viewers, I have a fantastic guest who we've been talking about having you on the Empowerment Series, but you've been a little busy. Congratulations, but
Thank you.
thank you so much for doing this.
Of course.
I'm a huge fan. This is Tina D'Orazio. She's the chief of staff at the Eagles and a wonderful friend. And I'm not alone in people feeling that way. So I'm going to, if it's okay, introduce you the way I see you, and someone else who gave me permission to share his thoughts. But Tina, you are, and I know you don't like to get embarrassed or like you don't like compliments, but I'm totally going to tell it like it is. Well, first of all, actually, let's back up. There was a great article about you, right, in the Wall Street Journal that talked about there are very few women who are leading in sports, and you are one of them, and used the Eagles as an example with you and a couple of your colleagues, again, in your role as chief of staff, which is very cool. And so that's the piece that everybody knows. The piece that I know, and I got permission from, forgive me, from Jeffrey Lurie, was about describing you. And he got a little emotional when he talked about you and how he feels about you and how we feel about you. Again, all true. I'm sorry. Don't get angry with me, but I know. And what he said is, and I agree, it's like you're totally humble. You see around corners. You're a true strategist in the best way. Always thinking about how do you get to the right spot. You are a very, the reason you're chief of staff, obviously, is you know how to manage people. But do it in an authentic and a good way. You're not. You know how there are jerky leaders out there. You are the opposite of that, and that's hard to do, by the way. And you're super smart, for real. And so that combination is kind of crazy. And Jeffrey did tell me that you actually have a nickname or a different title in addition to being chief of staff, and that is your nickname is Superstar. Is that true?
Only very little people call me superstar. So, but thank you. That's very kind of him and of you to say of me.
Yeah, and now I'm in big trouble.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But
that's very kind.
yeah, but I mean, I think you're a really wonderful example of how to lead, and that's why, you and I talked about it. I'm like, could you come on? And as everybody knows, I'm interviewing, the leading CEOs and leaders in our region and in our state. So thank you.
No, thank you for asking me to come on. And it's a pleasure to sit here with you and have a moment away from our desks to talk to one another.
Exactly. And so, my question for you, Tina, is, when was that time when you needed to bet on yourself?
Sure. To think about that, it probably goes back, quite a few years before my time at the Philadelphia Eagles, and was, I lived in New York City and worked for a variety of really fun media companies 20 years ago now, or 20 plus years ago. And I decided I was going to leave Manhattan, a place that I really enjoyed and loved living in, and was going to make a change and was going to move home to my hometown of Philadelphia and see what opportunity lied there, which was, a little bit different because I was having such a good career trajectory in New York. There's so much great opportunity there. It was the height of so many great media companies. And but I made that decision that I was going to make a change and try something different and have a little bit of balance, or potentially down the line start a family and things like that. So this was a little bit of a leap of faith to come to a smaller market and to what media company was going to exist here? Where was I going to fit in here after really just being in the media space in New York City?
It's interesting because, you talk about taking that leap, knowing that there's a smaller market. And do you think, like, internally, I just told you the things that Jeffrey said about you that I believe about you. Like, did you, deep down, were you like, you know what? I'm going to take that risk because I think I've got the basic skills it takes to take that risk. Like, I think I can make this happen. Like, was it a belief or was it like, hey, let's just do this and, let's see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Like what
Yeah.
was in your brain?
I think probably part of two things. I was young. There was risks that you can take, in your younger years, not to say that you want to be risk averse, in other periods of your career. But that was an advantage that I had, that let's go see what happens and try out a different market and see what's the possibilities and the opportunities that are there. So it was a little bit of, I think that I'll be able to find something that is really rewarding and challenging and something that I enjoy doing, just like my jobs previously. But I just wasn't sure, being in a marketplace that I wasn't really had been in since high school. So I wasn't really focused on the job market or where it could take me. But I had enough faith in myself, and I had great jobs and great mentors along the way, that I felt confident enough to approach this new, market with good confidence.
And so, did you stumble? Like at first were you like, uh-oh, or was it like it kind of, you found your way pretty easily? And look, everybody does it their own way, but it just sounds like it was obviously a terrific leap of faith.
Yeah, I think that it took a few months, and it was more time of networking and really getting to know, my hometown, even though, I've lived in it my whole life, except for school. Going away to school, I had never really known the job market. So it was really getting to know who are the players here in Philadelphia and really understanding what the business was here and some of the different companies that existed here. And so through networking, and I did a lot of informational interviews and just learned a lot of great people and met with a lot of great people. But within a few months, I was interviewing at the Philadelphia Eagles, which was great. I think within two or three
a few
months.
months.
Yeah.
Wow. So you came from New York, and you got this job at the Eagles. What did you do in New York? And was it a lateral move? Did you go down a step? Did you go up a step? How did that work? Did it not even factor in at all?
Yeah, I don't think I'm title obsessed, but I did definitely take a little bit of a, downward move to come to Philadelphia and be at the Eagles. At the time, I was probably in a director role running events for a media company. And then I decided to take the role here at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I was an executive assistant. So a little bit of a different career path. I knew that, once that I was in the position and was able to grow in the position, which there was promise of, that I'd be able to make my own path. But, at the time, you take that risk, right, of just betting on yourself and thinking, will this work out? Coming off from this title to this title, will it be the same? And it was almost the identical work, but the titles were different. But it was very similar work. I felt very empowered in working with all the new things that was coming my way. This was a new industry. I was working in sports and coming...
And a woman in sports, which is unusual.
Absolutely. So I was finding my way. It was great that I came in as an executive assistant and was able to really navigate through the company from the ground up and really, get new opportunities as they arose and as the company grew. And I would say that year I came in November 2004. And I cite that only to say 3 months later, we were in our first Super Bowl. So it was really at a time where the company and, the team really took off. So we were in the spotlight within 3 months' time. We had a great season. And I knew that coming into the interview process and knew there was the potential, but really didn't understand it, not having been in the world of sports. And so Baptism by Fire was, right there in our first Super Bowl appearance in Jeffrey's tenure as owner. And it was a remarkable time because it was new for all of us. And we had a great time with it. And obviously we didn't get the result we wanted, but we were prepared the next time we went back a decade later.
It's interesting because, one of the things, as we talked about, that Jeffrey said about you is that you're humble. And in a sense, you have to be humble to step down and maybe take a lower position. But in fact, now you're chief of staff, and what's your unofficial title? You're called the superstar, as I mentioned. And but that's perhaps factors into it, your personality, like you said, you're not title obsessed, but you knew it was an opportunity. You wanted to prove yourself, which you did, obviously. And so that's good stuff. That's great leadership.
And I think for young people now, putting myself in their position and thinking about that, not to be risk averse or not to be title obsessed, and just concentrating on the opportunity. And is this opportunity good? Is the leadership good? Is the executive team good? And I felt very confident after talking with Jeffrey on multiple occasions that this was the right place to be. And so could really, take that leap again, and felt comfortable with that decision and said, let's see where this takes us.
Love it. It sounds like you had to have made a really nice impression on the people you met, because people aren't going to refer you to the Eagles, right, if you're not a good person. Jeffrey seems so, or he is so involved in EQ and about people and about how that's actually, I think, driven all of you to the Super Bowl, is about the people and how they lead. And my sense is that a priority for you as well? And it seems like that's how you got your job, but I don't want to speak for you. You tell me.
No, I would think, Jeffrey has taught me a lot about emotional intelligence and really understanding. And he is a great person that really can see what someone is about and really seeking out the best of people. And he taught me a lot about emotional intelligence, which I didn't know that I had, or really didn't understand, but I've learned to know that it's a skill and know that it's an asset and a talent that I can use to manage people, but also to engage with other people, if whether we're hiring people or we're working on a new project with someone. It's something that you're really relying on in your day-to-day interactions and also your relationships with new people. And I think that in the line of work that I'm doing is I'm meeting new people every single day. And so that it's a really important skill to hone in on.
Someone told me that who works for you said that one of your great gifts, because sometimes you can't always say yes to everybody. That's impossible in your job, right? But the way you're able to navigate that is a special gift. And I don't know if you think about that deliberately, or it's sort of what you're saying about what you and Jeffrey both believe is about how you treat people and how you navigate situations. It seems to me, I don't know if it's intentional, but I wonder if that's something that you're deliberate about, or it's just, hey, this is the way I'm wired,
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of the way I'm wired. in that I like harmonious situations and just making sure that everyone's happy, everyone's valued, everyone's appreciated, and everyone works so hard. The people that I interact with, our team and our support staff, everyone is working a lot of hours, putting in a lot of time, and I'm able to see everyone's great values. And I want to make sure that everyone's happy in their role, and that if there is an issue or problem, that we're really treating it head on and we're getting to the root of the problem. Not to say that there's not discord or anything else, but I'm just, I guess, an optimist and want it to be, a really pleasant experience coming to work and enjoying what we're doing. I will say that time flies here. We're never looking at the clock. We're racing out of here to get to our next thing, because I think that we enjoy what we do and we're passionate about it.
I love it. And it shows. And it's definitely a contributor to where you all are right now. And, the other piece I just want to mention is, your work on the board of the Urban Affairs Coalition, your work in the community, the folks there, and everything you all do and the Eagles do to give back. It's really kind of special, and it seems like it fits in with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that inherently here, everyone comes here from whatever background or whatever education or whatever other jobs that they were in, and they're leaders in their community, whether it's their school community, their kids' community, whatever it might be. It might be championing a new project. Everyone comes here as a leader and really embraces opportunity here. And when things need to be done for our community, whether it's gun violence in the city of Philadelphia or our Go Green efforts, and all the things that we do at the stadium, whatever it might be a natural disaster that we're responding to. I've seen time and time again, people respond here, stop what they're doing, they volunteer. It's the most motivating workplace that I've ever been in a part of, because everyone has that special skill and that special need to give back and lead. And, the best example of it is our Eagles Autism Foundation, which we formed just a short 8 years ago, that everyone participates in the company, really takes active roles in fundraising and doing all sorts of things for the betterment of the autism community, and really rallies and champions behind it. So that's something that's tremendous to watch. And watching our Eagles Autism Challenge in May of each year, how many employees, coaches, players, support staff, everyone is there, really championing that effort and making sure it's a priority for them in their year.
So all I have to say is thank you so much for taking that leap of faith and coming down to Philadelphia, because we are all the recipients of you and your values and how you lead. And I really appreciate your being a part of this.
You're so kind. Thank you. I'm glad to have been here to talk to you today.